Most people who fast have no idea they're doing it wrong. Not wrong in the way you think, but wrong in a way that's quietly costing them the one thing they're actually fasting for: autophagy. And here's what's wild. The science on this has existed for years, but the fitness world keeps recycling the same oversimplified answer that barely holds up under scrutiny. So today we're going to fix that. We're going to look at what the research actually says, why the popular timeline is misleading, and what you can realistically do to trigger autophagy in your own body. Stay with me, because the answer changes depending on some very specific factors most people never talk about. Let's start with the basics, because you need this foundation before the deeper stuff makes sense. Autophagy is essentially your body's internal cleanup crew. The word itself comes from Greek, meaning self-eating. And while that sounds alarming, it's actually one of the most beneficial processes your cells can perform. What happens is your cells identify damaged proteins, dysfunctional organelles, and other cellular waste, and they essentially package it up and either recycle the components or eliminate it entirely. The process is so important that Yoshinori Ohsumi won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2016 specifically for his work uncovering the mechanisms behind it. This isn't fringe science, this is mainstream, Nobel-level biology. Now here's where people get confused. They ask, how long do I need to fast to trigger autophagy? And the internet answers back with a clean, confident number. 16 hours, you'll see it everywhere. But that number is doing an enormous amount of heavy lifting, and it's leaving out almost everything that actually matters. Because autophagy isn't a light switch. It's more like a dimmer that responds to a whole range of internal and external signals, and fasting is only one of them. So let's talk about what the research actually shows. Studies conducted in humans, not just mice, suggest that meaningful autophagy markers begin to rise somewhere between 16 and 24 hours of fasting. But here's the critical detail. Those studies were typically conducted on subjects who were already metabolically flexible, meaning their bodies were already somewhat efficient at switching between burning glucose and fat. If you're someone who eats a high-carbohydrate diet regularly, your glycogen stores are going to be larger and more full, which means your body needs more time to deplete them before it starts shifting into the metabolic states that strongly promote autophagy. This is why two people can fast for the same duration and experience very different outcomes at the cellular level. Insulin is the master regulator here, and understanding this changes everything. When insulin levels are elevated, autophagy is actively suppressed. That's just how the signaling works. mTOR, a protein complex that drives cell growth, gets activated by insulin and directly inhibits the autophagy pathway. So the real question isn't how many hours have you gone without food. It's how quickly your insulin levels drop and how low they go. Someone who ate a massive pasta dinner before their fast is going to have a very different insulin trajectory than someone who had a light, protein-moderate meal. The starting point matters enormously. Here's where it gets even more interesting, and this is the part most fitness influencers skip entirely. Exercise has a profound effect on autophagy that operates somewhat independently of fasting. Resistance training and endurance exercise have both been shown to upregulate autophagy in muscle tissue, and some research suggests this effect can occur even without prolonged caloric restriction. When you combine fasting with exercise, particularly if you exercise in a fasted state, you're essentially stacking two powerful autophagy signals simultaneously. The synergistic effect appears to be significantly greater than either one alone. Sleep is another overlooked variable. Your body naturally begins elevating autophagy activity during sleep, particularly during the later stages when growth hormone rises and insulin drops. This means an overnight fast of 12 hours, especially one that involves 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, may actually be more autophagy productive than a waking 12-hour fast, where cortisol and stress hormones are elevated. Your stress state at the time of fasting matters. Chronic psychological stress elevates cortisol, which influences blood sugar regulation, which in turn affects how cleanly your body can drop into the metabolic states that promote autophagy. So let's give you a realistic, science-informed picture. For most people eating a relatively standard diet, meaningful autophagy elevation likely begins somewhere around the 18 to 24-hour mark during a water fast. For people who follow low-carbohydrate or ketogenic diets regularly, who have higher metabolic flexibility, that window could shift earlier, potentially toward the 14 to 18-hour range. For people who are insulin-resistant, metabolically less flexible, or coming off a period of high-carbohydrate eating, it might take closer to 24 to 36 hours to see significant activity. These are ranges, not guarantees, and measuring autophagy in living humans is technically very difficult, so the research has inherent limitations we need to acknowledge honestly. What can you actually do with this information? First, stop fixating on a single magic number and start thinking about building the conditions that favor autophagy. That means managing your last meal before a fast strategically. A lower carbohydrate, moderate protein final meal will help your body reach the hormonal state that permits autophagy faster. Second, consider when you exercise relative to your fasting window. Training near the end of a fast, rather than the beginning, appears to amplify the signal. Third, prioritize sleep quality during your fasting period, because sleep is when autophagy does some of its most productive work. There are also certain compounds that have shown promise in supporting or mimicking autophagy signals. Spermidine, found naturally in wheat germ, soybeans, and aged cheese, has shown autophagy-inducing properties in research settings. Berberine and resveratrol have also been studied in this context, though human data is still developing. Coffee, interestingly, has been shown in multiple studies to elevate autophagy markers, even without fasting, likely through its effects on AMPK, an energy-sensing enzyme that promotes autophagy when activated. Black coffee during a fast may actually be working with your biology in this specific regard, which is good news for most people who fast. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Why does any of this matter? You might be thinking, okay, autophagy happens, that's great, but why should I care about the timing? Here's why. Autophagy has been linked in research to reduced inflammation, improved immune function, lower risk of neurodegenerative disease, and potentially longer health span. It's also central to how your body handles damaged and precancerous cells. This is not a trivial process. This is your body doing essential maintenance that becomes less efficient as you age, and supporting it through lifestyle choices is one of the more evidence-backed things you can do for long-term health. What we know is this: there is no universal answer to how long fasting takes to trigger autophagy, because your individual metabolic state, diet history, sleep quality, exercise habits, and stress levels all contribute to that timeline. The popular 16-hour claim is not wrong exactly, it's just wildly incomplete. The honest answer is that meaningful autophagy likely begins between 16 and 24 hours for most people, but optimizing the conditions surrounding that fast can shift the window earlier and make the process more robust. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. Autophagy isn't something you hack with a number. It's something you cultivate through a consistent lifestyle that supports metabolic flexibility, hormonal balance, and cellular health. The people getting the most out of their fasting aren't necessarily fasting the longest. They're fasting the smartest, and now you have the information to do exactly that.